Hello and welcome to Dude's Comic Reviews. I'm Jason and this is my weekly comic book review show where I review the new books that I've picked up this week. This week's a bit of a big week. I picked up 12 books this week, so this could be a long one. I will endeavour to keep each review as concise as possible. However, where I feel I need to comment on something, I will take the time to comment, but where possible, we'll keep it as concise as I can. So without further ado, let's get into those reviews. So first up this week we have FF issue number 13. This book's going to finish in 3 more issues, so we're starting to wrap the story up. This one kind of felt like a side issue. By that I mean it's kind of like that issue you have before you have the big story. You have that little issue as they're getting ready to go into battle or going into the fight or whatever, and you have that kind of little side story where everybody's kind of getting into place, getting ready for what's to come. This is very much, to me, it felt like that kind of issue. I was really impressed in this issue with Ant-Man. I think he really comes of age in this story and he really begins to start stepping up. Much more than he has so far, because he's been a bit of a disastrous leader thus far for the New Fantastic Four. So he starts to really step up. There's a nice kind of funny side story with Red Ghost going on, which I really enjoyed. And it was a really good book, but it just felt like that one before we get to the big stuff. You know, and there's some good stuff. I'm really enjoying this book still. Definitely going to get the final 3 issues. I give FF issue number 13 4 stars. Next up we have Uncanny Avengers issue number 13. This was a fantastic return to form for the book. While it's been good the last few issues, the story has kind of felt like it's kind of ground to a halt. This issue things start to get moving again and we feel like the story is advancing forward. Rick Remender does a fantastic job as always with the characters in the book, giving everybody their time and their moments. In particular for me, the standout was Wolverine, as he's really having to face up to the choices he made during Uncanny X-Force, Remender's run on that book. You know, all those decisions he made are coming home to roost now and kind of really kicking him in the ass. I really like the direction the book is taking and the way the story's developing. There's some really interesting things going on, and I look forward to seeing how this all plays out. The issue ends on a number of different cliffhangers, which I'm looking forward to seeing going. The thing with the Rogue and Scarlet Witch, which from like the first issue, I think we've been building towards that kind of big fight between the two, and it feels like we're drawing close to where those two really will go to war with each other. The art as well, I really enjoyed. We've got Daniel Acuna back on the book, and I love his art. It works really well on the book. But yeah, this was a really great issue. Really enjoying the book, and I give Uncanny Avengers issue number 13 5 stars. Here we have a Velvet issue number 1, my pick of the week. I really enjoyed this book. It was fantastic from cover to cover. I enjoyed it. As always, Image, they do fantastic value for money, as this was a double length issue, first issue, but for the same price as just a regular issue. And you know, the book was so good that I didn't even notice those extra pages reading it, and it isn't because there's like not much going on, but I got so engrossed reading it that it just seemed to fly by. The story is fantastic. It's set in the 70s, and we follow Velvet Templeton, and she's kind of like a secretary now, and you gather she used to be a spy, but now she's like a secretary, and their top secret agent gets killed. And she starts to look into it. First, a curiosity that she can't believe what's happened, and she kind of wants to figure it out. And the investigation isn't really getting anywhere. And she ends up in all kinds of trouble. It basically, you imagine the old James Bond films, and what if something had happened to James Bond, and Miss Moneypenny started to look into it, and then you find out there's all this past to Miss Moneypenny, which that she was a secret agent and stuff before. It's a really great book. Brew Baker and Epton make such a great team. The art is first class, the story is first class, and I just absolutely bloody love this book. Definitely on board for the future of this book. I'm really looking forward to the next issue. It's definitely one well worth checking out. It was the first issue that I was really impressed with how slick it was, and I give Velvet issue number 1 a definite 5 stars. My pick of the week, Velvet. Next up we have Sex Criminals issue number 2. This was another really good issue. I enjoyed issue number 1. I really liked the character of Susie, and she seemed a character that seemed really nice. This issue we look more at our other protagonist, John, and we learn how he first finds out he has this ability to freeze time when he orgasms, and we learn about how he gets this power, how he originally finds out about this power rather. And I really empathise with this character, as I think a lot of the stories of him first experimenting, and there's this fantastic line of how he had all the ingredients to make a cake, but he didn't know how to put them all together to make the cake. And that I think really sums up a lot of us in our teenage years, when we first get in those urges, and then we start experimenting with masturbation. It's kind of that revelation, and then you've got this new toy you can't stop playing with. So yeah, I really like the character, because last issue I wasn't really feeling it with John, but this issue I kind of took to his character more. We've got these strange characters, these white characters dressed in white, that seem to be chasing our main protagonists around when time's frozen, so it'd be interesting to find out who they are. We still haven't saw how they decide to rob the bank yet. We're just it's kind of filling in all the backstory first. The first 2 issues are, so I'm hoping that we'll get that bit in the next issue. But yeah, this was still just really good. The art was great. I especially loved the effect that they have for when they freeze time. I thought that looks really cool, and I give Sex Criminals issue number 2 5 stars. Next up we have Transformers More Than Meets the Eye issue number 22. This was supposed to have come out last week, but my comic shop seemed to get Transformers in the week after it's due out, so I picked it up this week. I'm really loving this book. Out of the 2 books I get this and I get Robots in Disguise, and out of the 2 I think this would be my favourite. And I just really love the crew. Basically the whole premise of the book is that the war on Cybertron with the Decepticons is over, so Rodimus has kind of got a crew together to go searching for the lost knights of Cybertron. So you've got this kind of ragtag kind of crew, all these great different personalities, put them inside this spaceship, flying through space. They're completely all the time getting sidetracked by different stuff rather than doing the actual quest that they're on. And the book's it's just so funny every month. There's great characters in the book, and some great stories that they're telling, and they're doing a really top job with this book. This issue is kind of like a bit of a side story, as Rewind had been filming everything, so they've kind of put this into a film now, and this is the product. So we get this film of their first 2 years searching for this crew, and there's some really great moments in here. I'm just really loving it. If you're a fan of Transformers, you'll especially love this, because it is a really damn fine book, and I give Transformers More Than Meets the Eye issue number 22 5 stars. So next up we have Hawkeye issue number 13. This hasn't been out for a few months. It came out last week. Somehow I missed it. Picked it up this week. First things first, another great cover from Hawkeye. But like with some of the art inside the book, you have that kind of minimalistic approach, the tame approach to their covers, and in their case, less is definitely more. The way you have, they're very unique kind of covers. I really like the covers on these books. Getting into the book itself, it's funny how it's been gone for a few months. It comes back with issue 13 the month, when it seems like a lot of the other Marvel books are up to issue 13, so that was kind of funny. Great to have it back though. It was one of those books I've got used to it not being there, but now it's back, I'm realise how much I really missed this book. This is just a fantastic issue. We at last get to deal with Grills being killed, which is something I've been waiting for, so that was really great to see. And this book is just really a great example of what it takes to do a great book, because you've got the fantastic writing of Matt Fraction, who makes Hawkeye such a relatable character by giving him all these faults that we can relate to. We then have David Haha with the art and the minimalistic kind of detail that he does, and his unique layouts. And we add to that the minimalistic colour palette of Matt Hollingsworth that gives the book another unique kind of feel. All the three of them just go together to make a great team and put together a very unique book. So pleased to have it back, and I give issue number 13 of Hawkeye 5 stars. Next up we have Justice League Dark, issue number 24. I really enjoyed this issue. We got the new writer on board, J.M. DeMatteis, I think his name is, who writes Phantom Stranger. The Justice League Dark have been in that book, Phantom Stranger, so he's used to writing these characters, and he's used to this corner of the DC universe. So I think he's a very good choice to take over this book, though I am sad to see Jeff Lemire and Ray Fawkes go, because they did do a good job. Thankfully the art is in good hands as well, with Mikhail Yanin staying on the book, so it has the same feel art wise. And Mikhail Yanin's one of them artists who I feel really very consistent, very good, but he always seems to be under the radar, and you don't hear many people kind of really talking about him, but he is a very good artist. The story of this issue concentrates on John Constantine, as he managed to escape whatever went down with the crime syndicate. We get to learn a lot of interesting stuff about the nature of evil, and we get to really see what makes the character of John Constantine in the New 52 tick. Very interesting story, promising for the future, and I give Justice League Dark issue number 24 4 stars. So next up we have Justice League issue number 24, another Forever Evil tie-in. This book gets my cover of the week. I really like that cover. It's a takeoff of the issue 1 of Justice League, but instead of the Justice League you've got the Crime Syndicate on that cover there. The issue itself I really enjoyed. It also gets my Geek Out moment of the week, which I'll come to in a minute. But yeah, the issue itself I really enjoyed. Basically we get the origin of Ultraman, who is the Earth 3's version of Superman. And it's got loads of like really familiar things in there from Superman's origin, but it's kind of twisted because Earth 3 is like the evil universe, kind of like in Star Trek how you had that evil mirror universe. This is very much the same kind of deal, that this world is the evil world where everything's slightly dark. So that was really cool. I love seeing that whole origin. It really fleshed out the character of Ultraman a lot more, which I felt I didn't really take to his character at all in like the Forever Evil thus far. He hasn't really stood out as very, very interesting. Just been basically a thug who's got loads of power. But this issue really does a great job of fleshing that character out and giving a bit more to him. My Geek Out moment, the story, it builds well, and basically Ultraman has been a bit of a bully, and he gets a bit of a smackdown. And when that moment comes, when the person turns up who gives him the smackdown, it was like, yes! I was ready for that because he was being a bit of a jerk. So that was my Geek Out moment. Really enjoyed that. This was just a fantastic book. It was a book going in that I didn't really know what to expect. And then when we got this origin story of Ultraman, and then we jumped back to current, it was just brilliant. All in all, I really enjoyed this issue, and I look forward to more of this. And I give issue number 24 of Justice League my Geek Out moment of the week, my cover of the week, and I also give it 5 stars. Next up we have Clone, issue number 11. This issue, we kind of have all the fallout. Last issue with that big game-changing thing is the clones were all outed. This issue we kind of deal with that. We don't see the Vice President, but we do see the clones and how life has changed for them since they've been outed. We get some interesting new villains as this religious group who totally believe that to try and be God and create life is blasphemous, and that these clones are an abomination. So and they make very interesting villains, and I think it's something that really fits the book, because you would have people that believe that, and it makes total sense. So I really like those new villains, and they're going to be really interesting. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with them. We get a couple of developments happening in the book that I think are going to build to something big. in the future, so they're the two things to really keep an eye on. The book is just its usual frenetic pace, really great, another really great issue, great art. It just moves along really quickly, never sort of lets the dust settle, it just keeps moving. Really enjoyed this issue, and it remains a really great book, and I give Clone issue number 11 5 stars. Next up we have Flash issue number 24, and this issue did very much feel like an ending. Yeah, it's Manapul and Buccellaro's last proper issue. They do write the next issue, but it's a 0-year tie-in, so this was pretty much the end of their run in many ways in their story. And yeah, the way they write it, it kind of rounds everything out. The battle with Reverse Flash is over very quickly, and initially I did feel a bit shortchanged by that, but then when I kind of thought about it and thought what happened, it did make sense that it would end that quick once Flash figured out what he needed to do. But at the time you thought that that was going to go on a bit more after the time they've built this battle up, and it does end really quick. The rest of the issue is all to the fallout and to rounding things up and to closing things off and bringing an end to a lot of the stories they've been telling. I really enjoyed this. I did have a kind of a, I did feel a bit sad reading it, because it did feel like an end of an era. And I'm always kind of mixed when writers write the end of their runs like this, because the way they've left it, it would be very easy for you to from here drop the book because you've got a conclusion to your story. So yeah, I'm in two minds whether it's a good idea to kind of write it like that, because you want people to come back next month, even if it's going to be different writers, you want them to come back. But yeah, I still really enjoyed it. The art, as always, was magnificent, and the way that they integrate the art and everything, the panels and everything, was just brilliant. Really enjoyed it, and you know, it's a totally unique book in the New 52, and I give The Flash issue number 24 5 stars. So next we have Wolverine and the X-Men issue number 37, which features Battle of the Atom chapter 9, our penultimate chapter in this big crossover event, and I gotta say, it's beginning to fall apart a bit for me. Yeah, there were some fantastic battles in this issue that go on, and that's really cool, but it's beginning to fall apart. Last issue I was kind of like, why are they fighting, as they seem to all want the same thing. This issue, for whatever reason, the new X-Men the future X-Men, sorry, are saying that that the original X-Men need to stay in the present, because something big's going to happen that they need to be there for, that could change everything if they're not there. But then, but we don't get to know what yet, what that event is, and why it's such a bad thing for them to have been sent back. And so the Brotherhood go to Plan B, and I won't spoil it because that's the end of the issue, Plan B. But I don't understand how Plan B relates and works with Plan A, because if you come up with another plan, ultimately, isn't the end game going to still be the same? We're going to do it this way, Plan A. Plan A never works, so we're going to do a new plan, but it's going to get the same end result. And I don't understand at the moment how that end result is the same. Hopefully next issue will all come together and it'll all make sense, but at the moment I'm a bit confused, a bit disappointed, and I'm just really worried that this is going to, after such a great start, it's going to whimper out. Hopefully not, fingers crossed it's going to be good next week, but for this issue of Wolverine and the X-Men, I'm going to give it 3 stars. So finally this week we have Daredevil issue number 32. We're continuing the arc with the Sons of the Serpent, and I love this arc. This like white supremacist group that are trying to infiltrate the New York Justice Department so they can control New York. Daredevil's trying to stop them, and this issue he decides he needs to be more proactive than reactive, so we kind of try and learn all he can about the Sons of the Serpent. That takes him to Doctor Strange. Fantastic conversation between the two, which is hilarious. The end of the conversation is just hilarious. I laughed out loud seriously when I got to that bit. And then he heads to where he needs to go to find this person who knows about the Sons of the Serpent, or something that you know can give him the information he needs. And the kind of like Mark Waid does a brilliant job of playing with your perceptions. Kind of you're thinking that, oh god, no, this is going to happen, and it kind of leads you down this path, and you're thinking, oh no, and then there's this twist, and I just thought that was just so brilliant. I really liked it, because you're thinking it's going to go one way and it's totally something else. So that was really cool. As always, this just remains a great example of an awesome book. Mark Waid's writing is top class, that if you've never read this book before, you could pick this issue up and you could get what's going on, and I think that's a dying art in this day and age. The art by Sam Nee is just brilliant. His storytelling ability is second to none, and the colours of Rodriguez again give it such a unique kind of feel. While making the book quite dark, it colours other objects so that they stand out and look vibrant, and it's just fantastic. All round a really great book, and another example of, to make the perfect book, you need that team that's all working in sync and working well together, and just really all bringing it. This book just remains one of the best books out there. If you're not reading it, shame on you, and I give Daredevil issue number 32 5 stars.